Welcome. We will get started in maybe a couple minutes. We'll wait for people to join us, so just enjoy the music. Welcome. If you're just tuning in, we'll get started in about a minute. So grab some water or coffee. We'll meet in just a little bit.
Searching so long, it lived in me all along. Baby, the desert drowns in
Welcome. Good morning. I am Pearl Walker Swaney. I am a program manager with Native Governance Center. And if you've joined us for some more information about the Native Nation Rebuilders Program, you're in the right place. Again, good morning, welcome. I'll be sharing some information about Native Governance Center, who we are, what we do, and go over some more information about Native Nation Rebuilders and what it is, and how you can apply, what to expect in the application. And there'll be time for questions at the end, or if you're joining us from Facebook or Zoom, please feel free to use the comments or the question chat box to field your questions. And here we go. So who is Native Governance Center? You know, what is this organization about? Back in 2015, we were sort of birthed as a Native-led nonprofit to serve the 23 Native nations of Minnesota, Makoche, North Dakota, and South Dakota. And so that is our service region. And we support Native leaders to rebuild their nations through leadership development and tribal governance support. And a lot of our work is around strengthening governance. And we believe that by strengthening governance, we're creating a direct pathway to improve quality of life for Native people. And so this is how we do that work. I kind of already mentioned leadership development and tribal governance support, but what that means is our tribal governance support allows us to work with tribal leaders, like elected tribal leaders from the 23 Native nations in our region, and provide governance support services to them, including technical assistance. And this is where Rebuilders falls into the bucket of leadership development. And this is how we do that community and grassroots leadership development around strengthening governance. And so I'll talk more about how that looks with our Native Nation Rebuilders program. And the other method or way we do this is through community engagement. And this is for a broader community to engage, do knowledge share, and educate those who may not be directly involved with either of the other program areas to learn more about what nation rebuilding is, why sovereignty and strengthening governance is important. So you've heard me say Native Nation rebuilding a few times, and I won't go into detail on what these are, but there are 5 principles of Native Nation rebuilding, and it's based on some research done by the Harvard American Indian and Economic Development Project. And this is our framework for Native Nation rebuilding, how we talk about it, how we teach it in our programs, and also how you learn about it as a Native Nation rebuilder. You get really familiar with what each of these mean, how to identify them, and examples. Uh, some of them you probably already know or have seen or experienced in your own community, but you might not call them these things. So it's something we don't expect applicants to know going into the program. It's just something to be aware of, that this is what we're talking about when we say Native Nation rebuilding. And I forgot to mention, but I am a alumni of the Native Nation Rebuilders program. I was in cohort 7, hashtag sacred 7. And so I have some of that experience in speaking about the program, and also supporting the program now as a program manager. But here's a little history on this program. It started back in 2009. There was a need identified by elected tribal leaders in our service region, who collectively saw this gap in leadership within community. And so this program was developed to meet that need. And since then, we've had 10 cohorts complete the program, and it's a 2-year leadership development program on governance. So that adds up to about 186 Rebuilder alumni, with cohort 10 being the last cohort to complete. And we're currently finishing up cohort 11, and they're going to graduate in December. And that will add up to about 200 Rebuilder alumni. So it's growing. And again, this is within our service region. So what do you get from being in the program? What are those gains? And you could think of this as like mental gains, emotional gains, spiritual gains, maybe even physical gains. We'll see. But what is it that you're really signing up for when you get into this program? You definitely get a deeper dive into Native Nation rebuilding. All those 5 principles that you saw earlier, that's what we really dive into, and you get really familiar with knowing what those are, how they're practiced, and examples and success stories of other Native nations that have done all 5 of those things. Something that's also important in an overall leadership journey is understanding your personal story and your values. And so that's where we begin the program, is deepening your understanding and connection to your own personal story and identifying what your values are. It can be really important as a leader. And that builds on throughout the program. So it's like we start there, but we don't just leave it there. We continue to build on that as you work through the program. You get to understand this history of governance and leadership from pre-contact, for example, through policies such as the 1934 Indian Reorganization Act, to modern day governance. And so you get this spectrum of changes in leadership, changes in governing styles, and maybe have a better understanding of some of the issues that you see in your own community, and how governance can be a solution. We go through some community engagement skills with some really fun people, and you really get to time to practice those during the program. So it's not like we give you the skill, you get trained in it, and then you have to practice it on your own. You get time to practice that during the program. Also related to your personal story and your values is wellness and leadership, and Indigenous leadership. So that includes thinking about models of health and models of wealth. When we think of wealth, there's more than one type of wealth in the world, aside from capitalism or Western, thought about wealth. And so we will talk about what those look like, what those are, and what they can be. And that goes alongside of developing a Native Nation rebuilding strategy. So we'll kind of give you some skills and tools to put into a bundle. And that bundle will be yours to take care of, yours to tend to and nourish. And that bundle also is, we cover the costs for creating that bundle, if you will. So training fees, travel costs, lodging, anything related to the program is typically covered by Native Governance Center. So that's year one. We give you this amazing bundle. You're taking care of it, you're using it, and then you go back to your community with this new bundle, with these new skills and tools, and you get to implement that and use that for your people. Use it for your community, use it for your programming. And so by then, we see a lot of rebuilders doing their nation rebuilding strategy implementation and have learned that there needs to be this additional support in year two of the program to really elevate what you're doing. And so we offer virtual coaching or one-on-one, any technical assistance you might need in carrying out your nation rebuilding strategy. And if we find that there's additional topics or training that's needed to do what you'd like to carry out, we can have a conversation and talk more about what that could look like. And this is really inspiring, but you get to add to this growing pool of nation rebuilders from our region. So after cohort 11 graduates, that's about 200 people from our region. So you'll have about 200 people that you could reach out to that are also really well immersed in nation rebuilding. And the outcomes we've seen is an increase or strengthening in tribal governance at all levels of leadership. So there's governance at different levels within communities and nations. And so that's something also you'll learn and we'll talk about in the program. So those are the gains. And these are just some examples if you're thinking like, what are these nation rebuilding strategies? These are some examples of previous rebuilders and just like topics of what they've done. Some really great work from rebuilders going through the program. Again, from our service region and ranging from all sorts of professions and backgrounds, education, nonprofit, social work, entrepreneurship, consultants, community work, language immersion. There's a variety of people that get into the program and go through the program who use this to further what they're doing for their community and nation. So again, these are just some examples. And it's not something we expect you to know at the beginning what you're going to do. It's something you develop throughout the program. And here are some of our Rebuilder alumni. You can see they look like they're having a good time because we're often finding ourselves laughing in our sessions together as we learn about nation rebuilding. But here's just a few quotes from Rebuilder alumni about this program. The program provides us with useful and practical tools to engage with our community and truly rebuild our nations from the inside out. Cohort 10 Rebuilder. And I'll just read another one from Cohort 8 Rebuilder. Being in the Rebuilders program is being part of a family that continues to teach and push each other to fulfill our responsibilities as Indigenous people. So again, we bring, you know, the pool of applicants for this program are from our service region. And so there's 23 Native nations, and typically between 15 to 25 get selected to be in the cohort. And so you have a variety of backgrounds and nations represented in each cohort, and they grow and learn together and truly do become a family. You see this bond develop over time, and it's really inspiring to see them build those relationships, build a connection to nation rebuilding, and see how they use nation rebuilding, that bundle, how they use that bundle in their communities. And also probably the best jokes. Oops. So here are some of the things to expect as you're thinking about this program, you're learning a little bit more about it. This is what's on the application. So I've said it a few times, but this is how you're eligible to apply to advance to fill out the rest of the application. You have to be a member of one of the 23 Native nations in our service region. You must live and or work in our service region as well. We're not yet at a point to expand beyond that, but that is something we've had discussions on and consider for the future. So if those two kind of mark you off for eligibility, please reach out to us, stay connected, because that's something we're continuing to envision for the future. You also have to be 25 years old by December 1st and complete all of the sessions and assignments and be committed to movement building. That's what the work of nation rebuilding is. It's movement building, and that takes time. This is what you can expect after you've completed the eligibility questions. You'll advance to the application part, where we, lots basic demographic questions are areas you can expect to answer questions about. Personal qualities and how you work with other people. What is your governance knowledge? What do you know about your nation? What are its strengths? Where can it improve? What's your commitment to your nation? What have you done in your community? What type of work have you done in your nation? What's your leadership experience? Are you just starting out, or do you have various leadership experiences or programs you've done in the past? What's your commitment to change? So sharing your stories about how you'd like to envision to see your community in the future, that's a story you can share. And also, what's your potential for making impact in your nation? How connected are you to your community and your people? So think of the application as like sharing your story about your aspirations for your people, why the work you do is important, and how you see leadership and governance being a solution for some of the key issues in your community. So those are the questions that will be short response or short answer format. And once you've completed that part of the application, you'll also be required to have 2 professional references, an employer commitment form, and a CV or resume to upload. And that's all online. So you don't need to do paper signing or anything like that. It's all electronic. And this is a overview of like the timeline. So applications open next week on August 16th. They'll close on the 19th at midnight. So if you want to make sure your application is complete before then, do it before midnight on the 19th. Work on it, get it in even before the day before the 19th, just to make sure. After applications close, those will be compiled and sent to a selection committee. And the selection committee are the ones who score and review applications. And then once they've selected who is going to be in the cohort, then we will send out a notice or an announcement through email. So make sure when you do your application that your email is current. And then we will take those next steps of like signing the contract and the paperwork for those that have been selected. And then announce who's in the new cohort on Indigenous Peoples Day. So if you have been denied, we always welcome you to reapply for the next cohort. And don't feel bad, because several rebuilders who have gone through the program applied many times, including myself. So it's kind of, again, going back to those pieces I shared about the questions that are in the application. So it's about looking at you as a whole person. And if you have any questions beyond this today, you can email me, rebuilders@nativegov.org. If you're ready to apply, go ahead and head on over to our website, nativegov.org, or you can follow us on our social media handles for more information, more testimonials. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at NativeGov. And I don't see any questions right now, but I will leave this up for just another moment. And again, feel free to reach out directly to me if you have as you're through your application or you're not sure about. Really quick to respond if you email me. I don't see questions, so maybe that meant I was pretty thorough, or maybe people are letting the information stew. Thank you so much for joining. Again, reach out if you have any questions or clarifications on the application or eligibility. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.